The underestimated threat. The massive hegemony warship Dominion emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its sleek crystal metal hull gleaming in the distant sunlight. At 15 kilometers long, it dwarfed anything humans had ever constructed in space. Behind it, a flotilla of 60 support vessels took formation, their weapons systems already scanning the inhabited third planet and its meager defenses. On the command deck, Supreme Admiral Vexthor observed the holographic display of the solar system with 6 violet eyes, his scaled skin shifting in iridescent patterns that reflected his confidence. Earth was just another primitive world to add to the galactic hegemony's 3,000-year-old empire that spanned nearly a third of the Milky Way. Pitiful, he commented to his executive officer. Their most advanced vessels still use chemical propulsion, and they've only established outposts on their moon and fourth planet. The intelligence drones report they've only been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries. Supreme Admiral, replied Commander Zithra, her tentacled appendages manipulating the holographic controls. Their technology is at least 5 evolutionary stages behind ours. Vexthor's mouthparts clicked in amusement. Send the standard first contact protocols. Let's see how quickly they surrender when they understand what they're facing. Across the void of space, on the bridge of the EDF Resolute, Commander Eliza Reynolds received the incoming transmission. At 43, Reynolds had spent half her life in space, rising through the ranks of Earth's unified defense force, through determination and tactical brilliance. Her short black hair framed a face marked by experience, with piercing green eyes that missed nothing. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Commander, reported Communications Officer Tariq Hassan. It's a first contact message in over 300 Earth languages. Reynolds nodded, straightening her Navy uniform. Put it on screen. Let's meet our new neighbors. The view screen flickered to life, revealing Supreme Admiral Vexthor's imposing alien form. When he spoke, his voice was simultaneously translated by the hegemony's advanced systems. People of Earth, I am Supreme Admiral Vexthor of the Galactic Hegemony. Your world has been selected for integration into our collective. This is an honor afforded to fewer than 1 in 50 discovered civilizations. Submit to hegemony authority, and your species will be guided toward proper evolutionary development. Resistance is not advised. Reynolds maintained her composure despite the thinly veiled threat. This is Commander Eliza Reynolds of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with the galactic hegemony, but must clarify that Earth is a sovereign world. We're open to diplomatic relations between equals. Vexthor's scales shifted to a pattern that the hegemony translation system didn't convey, but his tone made his dismissal clear. Equality is earned through technological and cultural advancement, Commander. Your species has achieved neither. Your fleet consists of 28 primitive vessels with minimal defensive capabilities. The Dominion alone could reduce your major population centers to ash within hours. As if to emphasize his point, the holographic display updated, showing the true scale of the hegemony flotilla compared to Earth's defense fleet. We will allow your planetary leadership 48 of your hours to prepare for integration. Representatives will arrive to establish a hegemony administrative center and begin resource assessment. Your cooperation will determine how comfortably your species experiences this transition. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in silence. Executive Officer Maya Chen was the first to speak. They're not even trying to hide their intentions. This isn't first contact. It's an invasion with a courtesy notice. Reynolds turned to her tactical officer. Lieutenant Parker, what's your assessment of their capabilities based on the scans? Lieutenant Daniel Parker, a former quantum physicist before joining the EDF, studied his displays with a frown. Their energy signatures are off the charts, Commander. Shield technology we can't begin to match. Weapon systems that could cut through our hulls like paper. And that's just what they're letting us see. Reynolds nodded slowly. That's the key, isn't it? What they're letting us see. She tapped her communicator. Get me a secure channel to General Takahashi. Priority Alpha. 30 minutes later, Reynolds stood in a heavily shielded underground chamber beneath the Lunar Defense Headquarters. The room contained only a circular table around which sat the 12 people responsible for humanity's military response to any existential threat. General Hikari Takahashi, the silver-haired, stern-faced leader of Earth's unified defense forces, presided over the emergency meeting. The hegemony vessels are exactly what intelligence predicted we would eventually encounter, Takahashi stated. Technologically superior, militarily overwhelming, and diplomatically arrogant. They've done this hundreds of times before. Intimidate a developing world with their superior firepower, then strip it of resources and subjugate its population. Can we negotiate? Asked the European Union representative. Their message was clear, Reynolds replied. They don't negotiate with lesser species, and their scans show they've already begun cataloging Earth's mineral deposits and biological resources. Then we activate Prometheus, stated Takahashi, referring to humanity's most closely guarded secret, a defense protocol developed in anticipation of this exact scenario. There were nods around the table. For 50 years, since humanity's first detection of signals suggesting advanced civilizations, Earth had been preparing in secret. While publicly developing conventional space technology at a normal pace, the world's governments had unified their defense research, pouring trillions into hidden technologies and weapon systems that would give humanity a fighting chance if they ever encountered a hostile advanced species. The hegemony has scanned our visible fleet and infrastructure, continued Takahashi. They see exactly what we want them to see, a moderately advanced civilization with limited defensive capabilities. They have no idea about the Prometheus platforms or the true nature of our primitive vessels. Reynolds spoke up. We should maintain the deception. Act intimidated, perhaps even begin symbolic preparations for their arrival. Meanwhile, we activate the full defensive grid and prepare our response. 12 hours later, Reynolds returned to the Resolute. To anyone observing from the hegemony ships, Earth appeared to be a planet coming to terms with its new reality. Diplomatic channels were filled with fearful discussions about how to appease the new galactic overlords. The defensive fleet maintained standard patrol patterns, making no aggressive moves. But deep beneath the lunar surface, within asteroids positioned throughout the solar system, and hidden within the seemingly primitive Earth vessels themselves, a very different picture was emerging. Status of the Prometheus grid, Reynolds asked as she entered the Resolute's true bridge, hidden behind layers of shielding that masked it from external scans. 96% operational, Commander, replied Tactical Officer Parker. The final elements in the Kuiper Belt will be online within 3 hours. And the fleet. All 28 vessels show normal signatures externally. Internally, quantum drives are powered and phase shields are ready. Nanite weapon systems are armed but dormant. Reynolds nodded with satisfaction. And the hegemony. Still in standard formation. They've launched reconnaissance drones toward Earth, but nothing that suggests they suspect anything unusual. They're confident, Commander. They think this is routine. Their overconfidence is our advantage, Reynolds replied, studying the tactical display. Their ships are formidable, but they've positioned themselves for an intimidation display, not for actual combat. They expect submission, not resistance. 24 hours into the 48-hour ultimatum, the hegemony made its first mistake. 3 mid-sized vessels broke formation and moved toward Earth, clearly intending to establish an early presence before the deadline. Reynolds was ready. Maintain passive posture. Let them approach to optimal range. As the 3 hegemony ships entered high Earth orbit, they'd broadcast a message planet-wide. These vessels will establish preliminary administrative control. Your planetary leaders will report to them immediately to begin the integration process. Reynolds gave the order she'd been waiting to deliver. Activate Athena Protocol. Targeted demonstration only. From what appeared to be an ordinary communications satellite, a pulse of energy too quick for even the advanced hegemony sensors to detect shot toward the lead alien vessel. The pulse contained billions of specially programmed nanites that attached to the ship's hull, immediately bypassing its defensive shields through quantum tunneling, a technology the hegemony hadn't yet mastered. On the hegemony vessel, alarms suddenly blared as systems began failing in cascading patterns. Its shields flickered and died, weapon systems went offline, and propulsion failed. The ship hung dead in space. On the Dominion, Supreme Admiral Vexthor watched in disbelief as one of his cruisers went dark without warning or explanation. Before he could process this unexpected development, Commander Reynolds' face appeared on his communication screen. "Supreme Admiral, perhaps we should discuss the terms of our relationship again," she said calmly. "The vessel we just disabled can be restored to functionality at our discretion. Consider this a demonstration of humanity's true technological capabilities, capabilities we chose not to reveal during your initial scans." For the first time in his long career, Vexthor felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. The scales along his neck shifted to a pattern that among his species signified confusion. "This is some primitive trick," he declared, though his voice lacked its previous confidence. "Not a trick, Admiral. A revelation. You assumed our visible technology represented our actual capabilities. That was a mistake. We've been expecting contact with advanced species for decades and have prepared accordingly." As if to emphasize her point, throughout the solar system, hidden installations suddenly activated, revealing energy signatures that matched or exceeded those of the hegemony fleet. The Earth vessels themselves seemed to transform, their hulls reconfiguring to reveal advanced weapon systems as their energy signatures tripled in intensity. "We hoped first contact would be peaceful," Reynolds continued. "We still do. But the galactic hegemony should understand. Earth does not surrender. We do not accept subjugation. We are willing to establish diplomatic relations as equals, or we are prepared to demonstrate exactly why that would be in your best interest." Vexthor stared at the human commander, his species equivalent of a stunned expression crossing his alien features. The small primitive fleet he had dismissed was suddenly revealing itself to be something else entirely, something that had just neutralized a hegemony cruiser without firing a single conventional weapon. His executive officer's voice broke the silence. "Supreme Admiral, we're detecting new energy signatures throughout the system, and our sensors indicate the disabled vessel's quantum core is now under external control. For the first time in the 3,000-year history of the galactic hegemony, a supposedly inferior species had not only resisted but had demonstrated technology the hegemony itself didn't possess." As Vexthor contemplated this unprecedented situation, he realized the humans had been watching, waiting, and preparing for this moment while deliberately appearing vulnerable. The Supreme Admiral faced a decision that would change the course of galactic history, and somewhere deep inside, a discomforting realization began to form. Perhaps the hegemony's assessment of evolutionary advancement needed revision. Perhaps they had just encountered a species that could force the hegemony itself to evolve. Humanity unveiled. Supreme Admiral Vexthor's 6 eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical displays showing Earth's suddenly revealed defenses. What had appeared to be a primitive civilization with token military capabilities had transformed before his eyes into something the hegemony had never encountered in 3 millennia of expansion. "All vessels, battle formation Apex 7, he commanded, his voice hardened with determination. "Prepare full weapons protocols. If these humans wish to see the true might of the hegemony, we shall oblige them." The 60-vessel flotilla shifted with practiced precision, forming a 3-dimensional attack pattern designed to overwhelm any planetary defense system. Energy cores hummed to full capacity as weapon systems charged. "Supreme Admiral," interjected his science officer, Nixara, her crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the command deck's lights. "The disabled cruiser's systems are reporting unusual activity. The nanoscale technology the humans deployed is unlike anything in our database. It appears to be learning." Vexthor dismissed her concern with a gesture. A primitive civilization cannot hope to match 3,000 years of hegemony technological development. Their surprise advantage will not last. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their primary defense installations. Full barrage. Aboard the Resolute, Commander Reynolds watched as the hegemony fleet reorganized into an attack formation. She had hoped the demonstration would lead to diplomacy, but she wasn't surprised by their response. Species that built empires on intimidation rarely responded well to being challenged. "They're preparing to attack," reported Lieutenant Parker. "Energy readings indicate weapon systems charging." Reynolds nodded. "Activate all Prometheus platforms. Phase 2 defensive posture, and open a channel to General Takahashi. It's time for the Artemis protocols." Throughout the solar system, what had appeared to be ordinary asteroids, satellites, and space debris suddenly came alive. Hidden within the moon's craters, beneath Mars' surface, and scattered throughout the asteroid belt, humanity's true defensive grid activated. These weren't conventional weapons platforms, but something far more advanced: quantum entanglement systems designed to counter the very physics that powered the hegemony's technology. "Prometheus grid fully operational," confirmed Executive Officer Chen. "Artemis systems standing by." Reynolds took a deep breath. "Let's show them what humanity can really do." The hegemony fired first. Brilliant beams of concentrated energy lanced from dozens of warships toward Earth's orbital defenses and the small fleet of human vessels. Under normal circumstances, such an attack would have vaporized everything in its path. Instead, something remarkable happened. As the energy beams approached their targets, they encountered invisible fields that didn't block the attacks, but rather redirected them. Through quantum manipulation of space-time itself, the deadly energy was channeled away from Earth's defenses and dispersed harmlessly into surrounding space. On the Dominion's command deck, Vex Thor stared in disbelief. "Impossible. Recalibrate weapons and fire again." The hegemony fleet unleashed a second barrage, this one specifically targeted at the human vessels. Again, the energy weapons found no purchase, their destructive potential nullified by technology the aliens couldn't comprehend. "Now," ordered Reynolds, "Artemis Protocol Alpha." From the seemingly primitive human vessels, unusual projectiles launched toward the hegemony fleet. They weren't missiles or energy weapons, but something far more sophisticated: autonomous quantum displacement drones. As they approached the alien ships, they created localized distortions in spacetime, temporarily phasing the hegemony shields out of normal reality. In those brief moments of vulnerability, precisely targeted energy pulses from Earth's defense grid struck key systems on 20 hegemony vessels, disabling their primary weapons and propulsion, but carefully avoiding their life support systems. "Status report," demanded Vex Thor as his flagship shuddered. 21 vessels disabled, Supreme Admiral, reported his executive officer, her voice strained. "Including 3 command cruisers. The humans are using technology that bypasses our shields entirely." For the first time, genuine alarm registered in Vex Thor's expression. How is this possible? Their civilization is barely 2,000 years old. On the Resolute, Reynolds monitored the battle with intense concentration. The hegemony still had significant firepower, and humanity's technological advantages wouldn't maintain surprise for long. An adaptive species would soon develop countermeasures. "Commander," called out Communications Officer Hassan, "we're receiving a transmission from the Lunar Defense Base. General Takahashi says the Lazarus Protocol is ready." Reynolds nodded grimly. Lazarus was humanity's final defensive measure, a system so powerful and controversial that its very existence had been known to only 7 people on Earth. Now was the time to reveal it. "Transmit to the hegemony flagship," she ordered. "Visual and all frequencies." Supreme Admiral Vex Thor's screen illuminated with Reynolds' image once more. "Admiral, we've demonstrated that your technology cannot overcome our defenses, and we can selectively disable your vessels without destroying them. We have no desire for destruction or conquest, only to protect our world and our sovereignty." "You have revealed impressive capabilities, Commander," Vexthor replied, his voice cold. "But the hegemony still possesses overwhelming force. This battle has barely begun." "Then let me show you why it should end now," Reynolds replied calmly. "Observe." On tactical displays throughout both fleets, a new energy signature appeared, emanating from Earth's moon. A pulse of energy unlike anything the hegemony had encountered before expanded outward at impossible speed, washing over the entire battle zone. Where it touched hegemony vessels, something extraordinary happened. Their energy cores, the quantum singularity power sources that were the pinnacle of the hegemony's technology, simply winked out of existence. 40 ships, including the massive Dominion, suddenly found themselves without power, drifting helplessly in space. "What have you done?" demanded Vexthor, his flagship now operating on emergency backups. "The Lazarus field temporarily collapses artificial quantum singularities," Reynolds explained. "We can maintain this field indefinitely, or we can restore your cores as easily as we nullify them. The choice of how this encounter ends remains yours, Admiral." In the silence that followed, Commander Zithra approached Vexthor, speaking quietly. "Supreme Admiral, our long-range communications are still functional. I've consulted the ancestral archives. In the entire history of the hegemony, no species has ever demonstrated the ability to neutralize our core technology. These humans have developed in isolation what our civilization took thousands of years to achieve, and in some cases, they'd gone beyond our understanding." Vexthor's scales shifted through patterns expressing shock, anger, and finally, a reluctant recognition. "Activate diplomatic protocols," he ordered. "Full spectrum." 24 hours later, Commander Reynolds stood in the United Earth Council chamber in Geneva as representatives from every nation gathered to hear the outcome of humanity's first interstellar diplomatic negotiation. Beside her, Supreme Admiral Vexthor had agreed to come in person, an unprecedented honor from the hegemony to a newly contacted species. General Takahashi addressed the assembly. "For 50 years, we prepared in secret for this moment. Operation Prometheus was humanity's insurance policy against the possibility that our first contact with an advanced civilization might not be peaceful. Today, that preparation has led not to war, but to something far more valuable: respect." Vexthor stepped forward, his imposing form drawing all eyes. "The galactic hegemony has existed for 3,000 years, he began, his translated voice filling the chamber. "In that time, we have encountered thousands of developing civilizations. None has ever surprised us as humanity has." He paused, his scales shifting to a pattern that the human xenolinguists present recognized as indicating profound respect. "Your species appeared primitive, your fleet small and insignificant. We saw only what you allowed us to see. In doing so, we failed to recognize what may be the most important measure of advancement: innovation born of necessity." The alien gestured toward Reynolds. "Commander Reynolds has negotiated terms that are unprecedented in hegemony history. Earth will not be integrated into our empire, but will instead be recognized as a sovereign peer civilization with full diplomatic status. Our scientists will exchange knowledge with yours, not as teachers but as colleagues." Reynolds stepped forward. "Humanity didn't want war. We prepared for it because we had to, because we understood that the universe might not welcome us with open arms. But our greatest hope was always to find neighbors we could learn from, trade with, and stand alongside as we all explore this vast galaxy." She turned to Vexthor. "The Supreme Admiral has agreed that the hegemony will revise its first contact protocols. No longer will technological intimidation be their opening gesture. Instead, they will approach new civilizations with diplomatic respect, recognizing that advancement takes many forms, not all of them immediately visible." Vexthor's scales rippled in acknowledgement. "Your small fleet concealed capabilities that have forced us to reconsider assumptions held for millennia. Perhaps there are other peoples throughout the galaxy with similar hidden potential. The hegemony has been humbled by this encounter." As the formal proceedings concluded, Reynolds found herself standing beside Vex Thor, looking out over Lake Geneva. The alien admiral's massive form contrasted starkly with her human stature, yet there was a new sense of equality between them. "Your deception was masterful," the admiral remarked. "To develop such technologies in secret while presenting a convincing facade of lesser capability. It shows a level of strategic thinking we had not attributed to younger species." Reynolds smiled slightly. "Necessity is a powerful motivator, Admiral. Humanity united around the belief that we needed to be prepared for any first contact scenario. We hoped for peace but planned for conflict. A wise approach," Vex Thor acknowledged. "My ancestors would say that wisdom is often the most valuable evolutionary advantage." The alien turned its multifaceted eyes toward her. "There is something I must know, Commander. The technology you call Lazarus, the field that neutralized our quantum cores. Have you truly mastered quantum singularity manipulation to such a degree?" Reynolds hesitated, then decided that honesty would best serve the new relationship between their peoples. "No, Admiral. The Lazarus field was experimental, barely understood, and frankly, we weren't certain it would work. If we had faced your full fleet in extended combat, the outcome might have been very different." Vex Thor's scales rippled in what Reynolds now recognized as the alien equivalent of laughter. "So we are not so dissimilar after all. The hegemony also projects confidence beyond our certainties." He paused. "Perhaps that is the true lesson here, that appearances, whether of strength or weakness, are often calculated masks. Reality lies beneath." As twilight fell over Earth, news of the diplomatic agreement spread worldwide. Humanity had passed its first great interstellar test, not through overwhelming force, but through preparation, innovation, and ultimately, mutual respect. In orbital shipyards visible to the hegemony for the first time, human engineers worked alongside alien counterparts, beginning the exchange of knowledge that would benefit both civilizations. The small fleet that had been dismissed as insignificant now proudly flew alongside hegemony vessels as equals. And far beyond the solar system, word spread throughout the galaxy. The hegemony had met its match in an unexpected place. A world with a small fleet had revealed itself to be far more than it appeared. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not as subjects, but as peers. From his office overlooking the new joint human hegemony space station, General Takahashi watched the activity with satisfaction. Commander Reynolds stood beside him, recently promoted to admiral for her role in the successful first contact. "They laughed at our small fleet," Takahashi mused, "until they realized it was Earth's." Reynolds nodded. "Sometimes, Admiral, the greatest strength isn't in having the biggest ships or the most advanced weapons. It's in making others underestimate what you're truly capable of." Outside the viewport, Earth rotated serenely below them, a blue jewel in the vastness of space, home to a species that had just proven itself worthy of the stars.